Will Canada actually cave and roll back its EV mandate? 2035 is just around the corner, and soon internal combustion vehicles will be banned in Canada. Let's get into it, give you some thoughts, and just tell you what's kind of going on here in Canada at the moment with the looming ban on the sale of new internal combustion vehicles. Basically, the Canadian government is planning a gradual phase out of the sale of internal combustion vehicles by 2035. Next year, in 2026, the aim is to sell 20% of the vehicles that are sold in Canada to be either fully electric or plug-in hybrid that meets certain range requirements, 70 to 80 kilometers on pure battery alone. And unfortunately, this has caused a lot of issues with the automotive industry. There's been a lot of negative press coming from consumers and just general people in general regarding the so-called ban. Now, to start with, they're not banning the sale of used cars. That has been the whole topic of conversation, where a lot of people think that the government is going to come and grab the keys to your old internal combustion car. That is not the problem. What the plan is here is that it's going to be a slow, gradual reduction of sales of internal combustion, of pure internal combustion only. Battery electric, plug-in hybrid, and hybrid vehicles will still be on sale up until the transition period, and then they plan to slowly eventually go to a full electric. So if we look at the screen here, what the plan is, I'll actually screen record this for everyone at home. It'll make it a lot easier for everyone. So next year, sales target 20%, and by 2030 it will go up to 60% of what they call ZEV, so zero emission vehicles. And then by 2035 and beyond, they plan to sell 100% of zero emission vehicles. Canada is basically following what you're seeing in California, the same general idea. It just goes on to say benefits of regulations, health benefits, charging infrastructure. We'll touch that shortly. Electrical vehicles, contributing to climate goals, all that stuff. So here, 2028, all electric range for your plug-in will be between 50 and 79 kilometers, and so on. And then they talk about the credits. So under the credit scheme, if a manufacturer doesn't meet that 20% sale of zero emission vehicles, and as we covered, it will be going up a scale up to 100%. So basically, if they don't meet their targets, they're going to be fined $20,000 per missing credit. That's kind of a similar system to what the European Union has, and it creates this whole market where you're selling, where other manufacturers such as Tesla or Toyota that have a lot of credits to sell. Actually, Toyota is in a very good position in this case, because they have a lot of hybrids and they sell a ton of plug-in hybrids as well, quite good plug-in hybrids as well. And weirdly enough, Mitsubishi is also in a really good spot with the Outlander, sells quite well. So if your company doesn't meet the targets, you could buy credits to offset the targets, or you could invest in charging infrastructure. Fine, perfect, no problem with that. However, representatives from the automotive industry met with Prime Minister Mark Carney last week over U.S. trade negotiations. That's a whole other can of worms that decided to get opened up that we did not need at this moment. And it just covers here the CBC article. Mandate requires what we just basically went over. And they're just talking about emissions and all this stuff. So basically, the automotive dealers and the manufacturer said that we can't meet these targets. These are absolutely insane, because, it's cheaper to lobby versus actually investing in some sort of innovation. As I said, Toyota is actually in a really good spot on this. But it was always the usual suspects. It's always GM, it's always Ford, it's always Stellantis. Now, you have to understand there is a lot of car manufacturing here in Canada, and there's a lot of uncertainty about not so much the transition over to electric vehicles or to plug-in hybrids, but more about the tariff situation and where our car industry is going. And it's not in a good spot right now. Car industry in Canada represents a huge portion of our GDP, and not just the manufacturing side. You have the engineering side. You have a lot of specialty companies like Magna. They do a lot of components. They do a lot of engineering. You have a lot of these weird tooling companies. So yeah, automotive industry in Canada here is quite large, and they're all concerned that they're not going to be able to meet these targets, which for, let's say, a company like Stellantis is really strange, because all they seem to be interested is selling Rams. But if you look at their European product portfolio, they have a ton of plug-in hybrids, but also a ton of electric vehicles. I'm just thinking, we had that Jeep in the UK, we had the Avenger EV. That same platform is shared with a Peugeot C3 EV. You have offerings from Citroën as well, and just offerings from Fiat, and offerings, they have so much under their umbrella, including the DS brand of cars, which they just launched the new presidential car in France. That looks absolutely fantastic, the DS number 8. So for Stellantis to be complaining, saying that they can't meet the targets, and, well, I think they just don't want to choose to meet the targets because it requires investment. And they invested into a terrible EV, the Charger Daytona EV, or whatever it's called. What an absolute disaster and flop that has been. Imagine spending so many millions on development and that car flops that badly. GM is in a good position. GM makes quite a bit of electric vehicles. The rollout of Ultium was quite slow, but now they're everywhere, especially here in Quebec. The Equinox EV is everywhere. There's more and more Cadillacs. GM has a very solid EV portfolio. And then you have Ford, which their CEO on one hand says that he loves Chinese EVs, and then he wants to have more EVs and plug-in hybrids, but is then complaining that they can't meet the targets either. So what's going on here? Is it a question of, are you just saying that you like it to make the EV crowd happy, or let's not forget precious shareholder value in all of this? I'll post these articles up here. So yeah, they all went to the Prime Minister last week with their begging sacks out, trying to get the rollback. So is there going to be a rollback? In my opinion, yeah, I think they're going to drop. They might not necessarily play with the dates, in my opinion. I think they might start playing around with that whole $20,000 credit, with the whole that $20,000 fine per missing credit and all of that. I think they might tweak that. The EV rebate is coming back in the next budget, or they will introduce it at some point for another $5,000. Here in Quebec, I believe it's $4,000. It's going to be on for another few more years until we run out of money again. There's a lot of the investment into charging infrastructure. Weirdly enough, it's getting better in Ontario. I was just in Ottawa on the weekend, and there's a lot of new charging sites opening up there. And I apologize for my squeaky chair. There's still a lot of people who are against EVs. I kind of get it. I kind of get some of it. I think it's a lack of education. It might not fit everyone's lifestyle. But if you could get a plug-in hybrid or a range-extending EV, like you have the Scout coming out with a range extender, okay, cool. It's still burning gas, but it's a much more efficient way of burning gas. Plug-in hybrids are a thing. We've driven a lot of plug-in hybrids on the channel. In fact, we have a few more coming up because people want to see plug-in hybrids. So I give the audience what they want to see at the end of the day. The only problem with plug-in hybrids is, for me, a lot of them aren't charged. You still have that charging problem for a lot of people for living in apartments or condos. They're easier to charge because you only need 120 volts really to charge them. But at the same time, you could also charge your EV on 120 volts and get quite a bit of range on it overnight. Yes, and then what else do we have here on my list? I made a list, just a little bit of notes here. Yeah, so we covered the credits, we covered the fine, which seems to be, that fine problem is what, I don't know, the conspiracy theorists online saying, well, now your gas car is going to cost $20,000 more. I don't know where they got that from. But I do think that's going to be changed. I think they're going to get rid of that. They might keep the 2035 date, but they'll probably get rid of that credit fine swap nonsense. Yeah, I just think Toyota's in a very good place right now. I mean, but that's kind of been their whole plan all along, was with the hybrids and then plug-in hybrids. They don't really seem interested in making EVs. Our government's invested a lot into EV manufacturing, and it's gone really nowhere. I don't think we could. I don't think we could ever start an EV industry in Canada unless we get the Chinese involved, and that's a whole other topic. We'll just touch on it quickly. I think there should be Chinese EVs in Canada. I think they should have a fair tariff scheme similar to that of the European Union, where they're tariffed to basically cover the losses that other manufacturers would face. So basically, they can't dump them on the market, so they'd have to take a loss on the car by having the tariff imposed, so they're priced similarly to local market cars, but we don't have any local market cars. We're in a trade war with the US right now over absolute stupidity. US has zero interest in EVs. They're doing everything possible to kill them. But I do like the government's plan. I just think it needs to be a bit tweaked. Not everyone's on board, and hopefully the Prime Minister and his ministers can figure that one out. That was covered. I've already mentioned charging, I think, is getting better. Well, here in Quebec, we already know that charging infrastructure is amazing. But that's a nice thing about Quebec, is that all the political parties seem to be on the same page. They're all on the same page in terms of EVs and climate action and all of this stuff. Yeah, so Quebec is in good shape in that regard, and so is BC. Everyone seems to be on the same page there. Yeah. What else do we got here? It's just a very, very strange time in the car market right now, especially here in Canada. Cars are expensive. People are very concerned about the cost of cars, and they're getting fed absolute garbage propaganda. Like, I read the comments on all my social media platforms. So I read them all on YouTube, Instagram. TikTok is by far the absolute worst. And where people get some of this information from, I don't know. I've been arguing on the internet for a better part of 25 years now, maybe longer. But some of this information out there is just absolutely mind-boggling. Like, you would never say that in person, and yet it's online. Would I buy a plug-in hybrid? Probably not. I don't really have any interest in plug-in hybrids, to be fair. I'll review them on the channel. I'll give you honest reviews on that, but I have zero interest in plug-in hybrids. It's basically the worst of both worlds. You're still carrying around a gas engine, and you still have to charge a battery, so you might as well just cut the middleman out and charge your battery in the first place. But yeah, I just wanted to touch the talking points here. Yeah, I think we kind of covered everything. I'll be honest with you, I voted for the current party in power. I try not to do the whole political talk on this channel, but I voted for the current party in power based on the EV mandate, based on the environmental mandate. And I would be quite upset as a voter if it went away. I know a couple of people in one of the EV clubs I'm in, they penned a letter and they sent it off to the Prime Minister and their respective member of Parliament. And yeah, it would be quite upsetting if they had a total rollback. I am expecting, I'll admit, I said before, I am expecting a partial rollback of something. Either the credits, the dates, the percentages, something. I am expecting that. I don't think we'll see a total rollback, but I'll be quite upset if there is a total rollback. We'll just be following U.S. policy at that point. And back to the supply side of things, we could get not necessarily Chinese cars, but we could get cars from Europe. Are they going to be cheaper? Well, that all depends how they're priced and what their options. Whatever we get from Europe, I'm telling you right now, I'll be honest, it's going to be pretty spicy models, mid-range to higher end models. They're not going to bring over a Renault 5 with the 32 kilowatt hour battery pack here. You will not see that. You're going to get the full 52 kilowatt hour pack here. I would love to see European cars here. We're quite fond of them on this channel. We spend quite a lot of time in Europe. If we got Renault here, I would go buy a Renault 5 in a heartbeat. I'd give up my Mini Cooper for it. Or if they brought over the European Micra, which is like an 80% Renault 5, the market is there. If you offer people choice, people will buy EVs. It's just that we don't have any choice here. You have the usual suspect SUVs. You have a couple new players. Rivian, as much as I love Rivian, they're completely priced in the stratosphere. Most people can't afford a Rivian. We need something. I've always said if MG sold the MG4 here in Canada, it'd probably be priced low 30,000s, mid 30,000s. People would buy that. Cars are expensive now, and there's not a lot of EV choice here. Tesla is a whole other can of worms. No one's really buying those anymore. Last time I was at the Tesla dealer, there were actual literal tumbleweeds blowing through the showroom and getting stuck in the mock-up of that Optimus robot. So yeah, we'll see where the market heads. More importantly, we'll see what decisions the government makes. Hopefully they'll be soon. Hopefully they're not made based on bending a knee to the American overlords. I would not like that. And I would also like people to stop dropping these crazy conspiracies that they're coming to steal your gas cars. No one is coming to steal your gas car. I do enjoy some gas cars, specifically something with a prancing horse on it, either a German prancing horse or an Italian prancing horse. But no one's coming to steal your car. If you want to keep your 20-year-old Toyota Camry rolling, cool, that's awesome, that's amazing. I'm not going to say anything about that. But this whole nonsense where they want to sell you an EV to turn off your car, well, guess what? Most connected cars now, you can remotely turn them off. So I don't know on an EV if they'll maybe be able to do it faster or control your movements and living in a 15-minute city. Well, I'll be honest with you again, where I live, I accomplish most of my tasks on foot, and that's kind of nice, not have to driving to a drive sometimes. So yeah, we'll leave it off at that. I know this has been kind of a long video, but I just want to give my thoughts on the whole situation that's unfolding and how dealerships aren't interested in selling EVs because they don't make any money on the back end on servicing. Oops, I said the loud part out. I said the quiet part out loud. I should say it moved me to a bigger house. Anyways, yeah, dealers have no interest in selling EVs. Dealers have no interest in really anything unless it's a high margin vehicle that breaks down all the time. Dodge Ram. Yeah, so I think we'll leave it at that, and we'll see you in the next video, which should be soon. Thank you for watching.